Hello, Teleperalta team. This is Christoph with Kaiserworks. I'd like to walk us through our latest design as well as some views that we've selected that we feel tell the story of the Teleperalta site and the vision that we have for the project. We're looking right now at an aerial. North is up. The most dramatic views in the site are in this direction here towards the north and west. And our main tent building is here, oriented northwest for that reason. And then just to the north of that tent we have our ceremony space, and then just to the south of it we have an outdoor lobby area which feels much like a desert garden. And just to orient us, this is the road that we take coming into the site, and we've located a drop-off zone on the opposite side of the building. So you would come into the site, pass the building, turn left, and then you would have access by way of this roundabout to one of 4 different paths, and I'll walk us through that a little bit more closely with the individual views. This is the first of our individual tent clusters, and so this is one of 3 that we're showing here. There's a second one here, and there's another one over here. And I'm going to zoom us sort of floating above. We're about 500 feet above the entry road as we're coming in. You can see the second ranch back here in the distance, and I'm going to drop us down onto the entry road. And that first image is really where we think you would first begin to get a glimpse of your destination. You would start to see bits and pieces of the main tent emerging from the desert vegetation, and then eventually you'd also see the smaller tent suites. And then at this point here, we're seeing a somewhat formal moment. This is a drop-off moment where you're at the head of the tent. You have this just massive, dramatic, very epic mountain range in the distance beyond, and there's a forecourt where we're seeing a stabilized, decomposed granite lounge area where we would have lounge chairs and fire pits and benches and potentially some community tables as well. And then beyond the glass here, looking into the space, you would have a space that very much echoes what is happening on the outside. You'd have a continuation of that. Let me just turn these people off, and then you can see what you would see as you look inside the space would be very much what is going on the exterior. It's an extension of it. This is one of our first rendering views. This is a view that we feel tells the story of this entire structure. The fact that there's 2 different sides to it. There's a more intimate lobby side where you have the main hearth, you have the lounge chairs associated with it, you have a concierge which can also serve as a bar, and then beyond that you have community seating for 92 people. And then you have a solid volume which contains the commercial kitchen and the bathrooms and storage, and then beyond that you have patron seating for 400 people on the north side with that epic view off to the north and west. Coming around to this decomposed granite roundabout, we'd like for this very much to feel like you're in the desert. So this is not a highly manicured space, but it is a space where there's a stable drive, and this may feel a bit like Desert Botanical Garden, where the desert's made slightly more lush and there are some trees that are selected to maximize shade. I'm going to first be taking us over to this door here, but as we see it, we have double doors on either side of this large blank wall surface. So here you would see double doors leading into the main dining hall. Here you would see double doors leading into this lobby space and the more intimate dining hall just beyond. And I will take us right up to that door and then rotate us in to see that view. So we're seeing this as a nice cozy hearth moment with the concierge just beyond. And then zooming us back out and over to this secondary entry. This would be the entry if you're going to the main dining space. You can also reach this just by walking on this interior hall between the outside building envelope and the main kitchen envelope. And then rotating in here, standing at the south end of this epic dining scene, you'd be looking out towards the mountains, and then out beyond the glass you see the ceremony space. If there was a wedding going on, you'd see these tables fully dressed, and then beyond you'd see the couple and then the 2 parties on either side of the aisle. Flipping now around to the northwest side of the scene. This scene would be just simply standing on the opposite of the scene I just described, where you'd have the couple standing here in the foreground, you'd have the wedding parties sitting on benches or chairs, and then beyond that you would see where they're about to go after the ceremony is complete into the banquet hall. And I'm going to take us now to our first cluster of tents. This is the tent site that's closest to the main tent. We see this view in particular as being one of the renderings that helps tell the story. This shows the proximity from one tent to the next. We see a delicate path that would wind through the desert here to communicate that this is going to be a navigable experience, that you can with your lamp find your way to your tent. And this also talks to having these individual communities that may or may not have a relationship. This could be a group, and the group would leave the main tent together and go find their community of tents together, or these could be individuals that are not necessarily associated one to another. If I elevate us about 60 feet in the air, we can see the relationship between this cluster and the next one, and then the one furthest east in the distance there. And I'm going to take us over to this particular tent. We've determined, we think this angle and this particular scene is the rendering we'd like to do to show what happens at an individual tent site. And so this is, as we see it, an evening or night shot. There's two people sitting in the butterfly chairs enjoying a glass of wine, looking off in the distance, and then also showing a little bit of a path coming off to one side, and just your proximity with the desert, with the raw desert being embedded in the desert in this really dramatic site. So that brings us to our conclusion. We look forward to your thoughts on this. Thank you.